All right.
It's 10 o'clock. I know she's not sleeping. What time is it in America, South Africa?
It's 17:35.
Yeah, she's not answering yet.
Yeah,
probably as soon as she calls back, I will invite her to my house. Come. Get on the show. Because I got her to up at 10. It's about 10:30 now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, what else is going on?
Yeah.
What else is going on?
No, yeah, I'm just sharing the share by Mr. Wende.
Oh, you talked to him?
No, it's a Twitter that he sent. And
okay, wait.
What he says is the MDC Alliance Constitution has no words, only branches. Our district executive only has 10 members, and it's called Constituency Coordinating Committee, while it's the MDCT is a district executive.
Read it again.
The MDC Alliance Constitution has no words, only branches. Our district executive only has 10 members and is called Constituency Coordinating Committee, while the MDCT has a district executive with 43 members and has a ward executive with also 43 members. Then I asked the question in the morning, what are the key factual and constitutional questions that ought to arise from the content and context of the share by Wende? Please try to be specific and not wishy-washy.
I can tell you what it means.
Okay, tell me what.
MDC Alliance is a political organization that does not have any word, does not have any grassroots. They derive their power from the top, from the big men. They impose their candidates like a foreign organization that came from space and say, this is going to be the person in charge. This is your governor in this ward district, in this village, in this area, in this city. And you know what? Then you vote for this person. When we go to power, and here is your what we're gonna do for you. If you vote, we're gonna give you this and that, just like ZANU-PF. That's what he's saying. The power of MDC is not derived from the grassroots, from the wards. It is derived from the president or whoever appoints the individual. MDC Alliance Constitution structure is no word, only branch. What district executive, only members.
You see, if you look at your reading and my reading, you see how we have difficulty.
Obviously, my assessment is very effective in the sense that he's saying it exactly as he says.
My reading is he is confirming to the world that MDC Alliance is a party on its own with structures, with the Constitution.
We know that. We know that. I overlooked that.
No. I'm saying is when we are communicating, let's communicate as if we don't know.
Right.
And he is saying that the National Council meeting that was held 2 days ago, that meeting must have excluded him as well.
Exactly.
Because he already is a member of a party with a constitution.
Exactly.
And with structures. So when I was asking for the constitutional questions, all I was saying is the moment somebody says he belongs to a home that is already structured with a foundation, with a roof, then it means that person has vacated any interest in the home that they used to call home. So if you can distinguish between the Alliance and MDCT, then it means the two are like apples and oranges.
Right.
Each one must stand on its own. But how many people would inquire further into that share on Twitter? Or they'll just accept what has been shared. And you know, this whole day I had a dispute on the true meaning of that section 6.4.2.6 of the MDC Constitution. That talks of an emergency meeting.
Right.
And some said, no, the meeting that was held was not an emergency meeting. It was a routine meeting. And the council can create a chair for that meeting. Then I asked, under which provision in the Constitution can council create a chair for its meeting when that right and discretion is vested in the president?
Not without the president's consent, according to that clause or 6.4.
For you to have consent, you must have knowledge. But if it's a clandestine meeting, how am I supposed to know when a thief is coming?
You wouldn't.
Yeah. So.
And also, you can't just call the president in the middle of the night and say we are now convened.
No, it must be the president's meeting.
It must be the president's meeting.
So if the president has not...
brings the question to the fact that are all the powers given to the president to decide the fate of the entire organization with no... At what point, Mama, does anyone else outside the president take power from the president? According to that constitution, it doesn't seem like there's any room.
There is a room.
Everywhere.
There is a room says that at any point you can call an extraordinary Congress.
In that meeting without the president?
No. The extraordinary is a members' meeting. So the president cannot refuse to convene it. He will be there. And
but what if he's not?
No. I'm saying you have the opportunity. That's what the Constitution provides for. That the independence of members is their sovereign. You can't stop me from being pissed off against you.
Right.
Yeah. When I'm pissed off, I do. That's why you have Second Amendment in America.
Right.
That I can be pissed off.
I can protect myself very very well.
Very well. But in this case, the Constitution protects you because you'll be lobbying like what you've been doing so far.
Right.
As you lobby for constitutionalism, other people will understand to say, but Divine is raising a significant point. Some may not acknowledge it, but some have changed their perspective because you've shared it. So when
we
you
have been persistent, Mama Weri. They ended up hearing our voice no matter what.
Yeah, I'm just saying is that advocacy comes from you.
Right.
So if you say today, I want to be the advocate of change, nobody can stand in your way because the Constitution protects you. But don't come alone like Jesus said, find another person so that you can be many.
Right.
And if you just share what we are sharing with the world, you never know someone in the quietness of his time or her time picking up and say, when others were talking about the invalidity of the National Council meeting, now I can see how invalid it is. You remember yesterday, we had to go through it slowly.
Slowly.
Yeah.
And thanks for the lesson, Mama Weri. I had no understanding of it a little bit until you percolated it.
Yeah, if you now understand it, then it means we now are clear on what a meeting is in terms of the Constitution as it relates to the National Council. Then you see how all of the other people who held the meeting and how ill-advised they are, or maybe. But in the quietness of that time, right now, they are reflecting. There are people who didn't even know. They are just told that the National Council is a standing committee of Congress, and in between Congresses, the National Council can convene, can do whatever it wants, like animals, just sitting together. We are passing resolutions.
You can't just suddenly appear and gather and then pass it.
No, I'm saying is, but there are people who genuinely think that they are acting in accordance with the Constitution. But there's no one to consult, and there are no elders. So what we're going through yesterday, just to understand where the rights are, where discretion is.
Well, anyway, the sides, the parties, MDs, the elders, they are not adults. Everybody is under the age of 40.
No, you don't have to be old to be an elder in thought.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but even ZANU-PF, even government, imagine the president wanted advice on something. Right. Outside his ministers, where does he go?
You probably go to a person like outside you or anybody.
No, he goes to Sangoma, to Nganga. Because none of us have been presidents before.
So he goes to Nganga, and that's true actually. Actually, he's really he does go to Nganga.
You know, he may go to somebody who is a subordinate, and what does somebody who is singing for his supper tell you? They'll tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, they're ready to eat.
Yeah, so that is the challenge that if you are powerful, and Agrippa, I hope today Agrippa has changed. He has learned to just talk about issues. I hope today we are not going to refer to Chamisa, just to refer to principles. so that we can learn from principles without focusing on the individuals in the disputes that we have not been appointed to be judges for.
Right.
So that is the problem, that we don't seem to have men and women. You know, somebody called me a journalist. And he says, Mawere, you were talking to Professor Maduku, and Mafa was there. And why did you not allow Maduku to talk? You guys were dominating. I said, yes, because before we spoke to Maduku, we were arguing. And we only brought Maduku to confirm but if you are picking it from the conversation, you are only picking up where Maduku came in. And it was to confirm that our understanding was the same as his own understanding.
Exactly.
We were not there to interview him. And it was not a journalist function. It was to clarify, to confirm, and reconfirm whether our understanding of what a political party is, what was before the court, what is expected from court, which is then clarified.
Right.
And that was helpful, that we can pick up the phone. And that's what we are talking about. When we have disputes, we have arguments, we must have these men and women who we know that when we call them, they will quickly be able to come to speed of what the dispute is without becoming part of the dispute.
Right.
But if we call Maduku here, they'll say, you guys, you have a deal na Maduku, you are supporting so and so, without understanding how Maduku comes into the picture. Because we don't have too many of these people who are independent, who are impartial, and who can speak to what is written in black and white without adding or subtracting what the Constitution prohibits or limits, what it permits and what it doesn't permit. So where do we get these people, Amafa, without you being misunderstood, that you are actually peddling an agenda to spend your time talking about someone you don't know?
Somebody I've never met.
Yeah, but what makes this funny is Komichi Monzora and Muzuri were appointed by an illegitimate person to be on Senate and on the wrong party. How come their posts are valid? You see, that question is pregnant. Can you hear where it's coming from?
Right. And as far as I'm concerned, everything must be nullified, but that's just me. They are like, I'm not the president. How they have everything according to black and white.
No. When you look at what happened, there was a small family called the MDC with a constitution. There was the national family called the people of Zimbabwe. The elections were held. People who voted may not be members of the MDCT or MDCA, as the case may be. People who voted are Zimbabweans, and in terms of the electoral law, were eligible to vote.
Right.
And the proportional representation is a consequence of the law, not the constitution of a political party.
Right.
So the appointment is by virtue of the operation of the law. So those people represent the party. The only dispute is that there are people who are saying the party that is relevant is called MDCT, while others say no, we have allegiance to the man, to the person who led us, and we went with our simples and we won. So they are saying MDC Alliance was the party they belonged to, and they thrown the ladder that took them to the MDC Alliance away. Now they are saying we are independent of the alliance.
Exactly. They are now independent. That is what they claim.
Yeah.
But is that reality?
That's right. So the law does provide for interpretation of constitutions, of rules.
Right.
If I breach my own rules, the courts have jurisdiction to determine. Because
that is what they are not accepting.
No, we are not talking on their behalf. We are talking ourselves so that those with ears can hear. And those who don't have ears, we don't have to talk to them because they can talk to themselves and satisfy themselves. And Grassroots Shariza says, you are right, Mr. Mawere, on this one, on that one. So at least we have one person who is validated. Then Agrippa says Maduku is now part of the elite, trying to impose their will on the people and destroying our people. Maduku finds himself in this dispute by choice, by somebody exercising their constitutional right to decide as to who represents them in a dispute. He was engaged by Coupe to act on Coupe's behalf, although Coupe was a respondent in the matter. So Maduku did not give himself a PIN number to interfere in a dispute where there are no parties. So he was in court doing the job that he trained to do.
Right.
And that should end the debate in respect of constitutionalism.
Right.
So I hope that we understand that lawyers, they take an oath to serve the public without favor or prejudice. In this matter, Coupe chose her own sword to fight a battle, and that sword was Maduku. So it would be wrong on our part to start taking our own swords outside the court, pointing at Maduku for doing the job that he trained so hard to do on behalf of all of us. One day, you may find yourself on the other side of a dispute, and you may call Maduku because Maduku, you now know, he can understand issues the way the judges also understood them. And the judges ended up. So yesterday, Monzola said MDC Alliance is not a party. Now when he says he recalled those MPs because they joined another party, which party is that now? Monzola didn't say that. Grassroots. What Monzora said is, once you said, I'm no longer the son of the father,
you are no longer in the house.
you have already elected to be outside the house of your father and mother. So there's nothing that can cure that. So this election was made by the people who are alleged to have fired themselves. They took the parachute from a plane that went to land somewhere. So they landed on the ground, but not where they should have landed. What Monzora said, if I heard him correctly, is that the moment you have another home and disowned the party that sponsored you, then there's nothing that anyone can do to cure that. It's not Monzora's personal view. That is what the Constitution says. That if you land at a no man's land where there's no party, and you say it's a party or it's ground, that's your ground you have chosen. You perish by that ground that you have chosen. It is not Monzora to create a ground that doesn't exist. So this issue was settled by Wende and others who took the decision that they don't like, they are no longer part of Tsvangirai's legacy. They are now part of the new normal called Chamisa crew. So they found themselves in Chamisa crew and they called it MDC Alliance as a party because of Chamisa. And they are saying wherever Chamisa chooses to be, that's our home. But they were never chased away. Okay. Then Signor says, a political party is a vocal way through which voices can be heard. It's also a citizen information center where a collection of ideas can be used to build a set of policies to make up an operating manual called a constitution. No, a party is a vehicle for members, not for citizens. The citizen has to decide to belong to a family. It's like marriage. You decide, you pick your own folk, for better, for worse, you solve your problems within the framework of your choices. I hope that Mr. Mawere, I'm right to say Maduka Kupen Mnanga can still influence the court since they are engaging. No. The court has already ruled. The court has said, go back to your constitution. They didn't say go back to Mnangagwa's bedroom or Mnangagwa's private parts. No. They said go back to your constitution. It is instructive, it is binding. And power must be transferred in terms of your own rules, not rules of Zimbabwe or ZANU-PF. It may be the case that ZANU-PF is guilty through its members of the same mischief, but that's for another day. Right. What the court has said, you have a constitution, look at it. What does it say? Did what happened conform to the constitution? Yes or no? If not, then go back where you came from. Get your house in order. Then Monzora is making decisions without consulting other party members. That is for the people, the party members. But those who have taken a parachute cannot be consulted by a pilot who is going nowhere. So if the pilot is taking you where you don't want to go and you have exited the plane, celebrate your exit. you can't be outside and inside the plane.
No, you can't.
You can't be inside and outside the car. That is going where you don't want. If you don't like the driver, you take a walk. You exit. And that's what we call the rule of law. The power of liberty. That liberty, Mr. Mafa, can you talk to liberty? What is the importance of liberty in the affairs of men?
Right. It gives you a sense of freedom and ability to survive without any restrictions.
No. Liberty is an unalienable right.
Right.
You can't alienate it and remain normal.
Right. Right.
So it's
You have absolutely no restrictions by authority on imposing the behavior one or the other.
that's a right of nature.
Power, scope to act as one pleases.
Yeah, so if you decide you belong, you belong. Mr. Mawere Monzora was part of the team. How come he's a saint now to point others? Yes, we've asked him. We've asked Monzora to say, how come you are a hypocrite? He says, even if I was a hypocrite of the highest order, it doesn't change the facts of the matter. Power.
Even if I had made a mistake, even if I had tried to cheat Jamisa, even if I participated in his election or whatever MDC alliance did, but now I have this order.
No, even if he didn't have the order.
He's saying it's hypocritical to do that.
No, it's irrelevant whether there's an order or no order. What is wrong remains wrong as per Constitution. Nothing to do with Monzora.
Right.
Monzora never became an acting president. Never participated in a meeting of the National Council where he was appointed to replace Changirai. So this has nothing to do with Monzora. So I don't know, Ruth, where you get this idea that Monzora is part of the facts of the dispute. Whether he was a prostitute, chameleon, caterpillar, whatever. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And then Signoro says, Maduku is a political strategist who uses political disturbances to make money. I don't know where that comes in from. Why do we need to impose our thinking in other people? Signor, how can someone strategize about a court that he doesn't control? How can someone strategize about the worst case? The person who strategizes is the person who is the president. It is not the person who sits in the car of somebody says he's got a right and he can say, I got the right from a national council. What does that have to do with making money? What if Monzora is a committed person who is committed to his own principles? That I will not leave the house, I will fight from within. How many wives are battered, killed in marriages?
And they never leave.
Some never leave at all.
Your principle, they've left the party
No, so living a marriage is a choice, it's part of your liberty. You can decide.
I like the way you made the connection with liberty. That's genius. Makes sense.
once you take away liberty, Ramafa, there is no human being left. Then I can think for you.
Do you believe we have any liberty at all in Zimbabwe? At all?
That's another subject, but liberty is a gift of nature. It's not given by government. It's not given by somebody else. So I don't have to strategize about my right to belong, my right to exit. It doesn't make me part of the crime. Because a crime starts in the mind. It doesn't start in doing. There are people who knew what was at stake. They knew they had to manage Coupe, throw her under the bus, and she will perish under the bus. And history doesn't have any legs. The facts of yesterday remain where they are. Whether Monzora is there or not, it doesn't matter. You personally hate Chamisa Ramawere. Why would I hate Chamisa?
I just don't get it. When people think like that, why do they think you hate it? Don't even, why would anyone think that?
Why should it be? Why?
Mental age of people asking those questions.
Why should it be love-hate relationship? And when we are talking about principles, I was not the author of the Constitution of the MDC. I didn't even know what clauses are there. I'm only learning now because there are disputes. So I don't understand this hatred that a country must be built around affinity to a human being. That I have to love the person of the president and I have to be subjected to tyranny because that's what the president wants. The moment you submit to tyranny, it's like virginity, you lose it once. You never gain your liberty once you have surrendered it to somebody. So please, don't personalize debates on issues, on constitutionalism, on rule of law Tapiwa. I don't stop you. I have no mechanism of stopping you from liking who you want to like. If you love him, if you want to kiss his ass, just kiss it quietly. But don't insult others. That I have time to like or hate somebody. But where facts support something else, I will follow the facts and leave it there. Kigabere, Mawere, Mr. Masha, Ban Mashaba minds, Wakasia Waparaza, Mari, Arenewe. Yes, that's somebody else who thinks that words can destroy and laws can't destroy. This Gigabere may not even know that there's a Reconstruction Act. He thinks that in his head, facts lie. Ananyaya uyu, Raymond Mumba. Mind your comments. Mawere, now Mube posing with Moyo, who resigned in 2016, left MDC. Wana wapererwa. No, wana wapererwa because they misunderstand the judgment. Judgment does not take away liberty of the person. If I choose to marry a person who is 20 years or 40 years older than me, it's my choice. If if Mr. Moyo decided to take a parachute, then he took the parachute voluntarily. He can't take a scrambled egg and separate it. He can't he is bound by his own sword. He may talk to Nuwe for luxury, but he decided to vacate. It's like people who are in graveyards, who were members of the structures in 2014. You don't go to the graveyard to awaken them to come and attend a meeting. No. Please, let's understand what the judgment says. It says the baton was not meant to transfer to where it transferred. Ruwa flower wapererwa.
Right.
And
the baton was never transferred the proper way.
Somebody says, but Mawere is a product of ZANU-PF. So what do you expect? Now I'm a product of ZANU-PF. Can you imagine the womb called ZANU-PF? And it produces, it has an ovary. It produces in a small elastic wall a person like me. Hello?
I realize that they like using personal attacks to remove the argument that you are making, which is good.
Hey, do we have somebody else on the line?
We have Milam. She could not answer. The phone is kind of hung up on there.
Oh, that's ringing. I can see it's ringing. Then somebody says, no, knowledge is power. Yeah, all right, we can do that. Good question. So I will challenge you, Amawere. Why do you override my views? Allow me to express my views and opinion freely. And nobody stops you, Senor. I'm reading what you are doing. At least you can ask me to support my facts. I have no personal vendetta, even Mugabe. I am Muzia Maduku. I don't know, Senor. Let us share the ideas, and you can share there so that we get through all the questions. And I have asked you to host the show, Senor. I have no mechanism of stopping 24 hours being used to educate, inform, entertain people. So let me finish what I started, what inspired me, so that we can go. I've seen your comments. All I was saying is that let us not import our views on Monzora and say he's looking for money. What if he's serious about the things that he wants to talk about? He doesn't mind your comments. Monzora was contesting against Chamisa on the MDCA. So if you don't know what you mean, say. Yes, he contested. At the time he contested, the Supreme Court had not made a determination. The determination was made after the Congress. And that's what it is. So that determination was made after. Then please call me on WhatsApp. Yes, I've dealt with that. I am from Shabani. For the comment, Yukuraya mine, it's wrong. Thoughts use ZANU-PF. I don't know. If you know that there's a law that was manufactured, invented, it still exists. So, Ras, if you want to know the truth, please say so that we can give you the facts and we take it from there. Don't lose emotions. It doesn't win. Keyboard warriors in motion. Mataurako Mdara Mawere. Okay, I don't know how I should talk. You are very wrong, Mtuma Mawere. Tokokupe proceeded with own party, willingly disassociating herself, but was allowed to come back and lead the party she was no longer party to. So Moyo is no exception as long as he is willing to come back. Any moving on was nullified. Say, I don't know, Peter Mtisi. All I can give you is my views, and I know the matter is subjudicated before the court.
I think what you're saying, Mama, what do you do to people like Love Momoyo and the party and those people can wait and move on? You are no longer part of the structures.
Unless you were not if you were not forced to vacate a post, if you voluntarily exited a marriage.
But you know, if you voluntarily exited under duress, it's almost like leaving a work because you've been discriminated. You still can bring a lawsuit and you can't allow them to harassing you. You know, so we don't know why he started another party. So he might still be justified to come back if he wants to be part and parcel.
No, I'm saying is the moment that you make an election, right, and you decide to exercise your sovereignty and say, I want to be outside the party, that's your decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pepe is gone. Even Moyo. Especially.
No, there are people who are dead anyway.
Right.
Okay, I meant to Misa. They are in out of which is which. Okay, Monzora is an evil man. Zimbabweans are being trapped. Let's stop one party state from happening. Please don't let this man Mawere mislead you. Now he's threatening others not to exercise their sovereignty. Have you ever heard that kind of nonsense? Why would somebody say don't listen to somebody as if I stop you from listening to yourself? Agrippa, why don't you host a show? I listen to your views. Why are you an expert at fingering others? Why do you find energy to do that which no one is born to do? Are they MDCA or MDC Tranquilai? I don't know who they are. But what I do know is that there is a judgment, and we're still trying to understand the full import of it. And let's fasten our seatbelts. All we can do is talk, hallucinate, and sometimes we are wrong, and allow us to be wrong. Mahumba Shaiwo. We are embarrassed for them. Moyo formed a pressure group. Large said Moyo formed, if he did, that's his own choice. He exercised his own freedom. So I don't know why people would take much in what he decides to do. If he decides to come back to the party, anyone can join. Anyone who was not even mature in 2014 may be a party member today. Painting Chamisa wrongly is wrong because Kupo also went to election with your own party. As Chamisa now, the cabal, the Akushan's advantage of the court calling Kupe as leader and need post or whatever. So I think that's where we are. Somebody is saying that I'm painting Chamisa wrongly. I wasn't there, and I'm not a member of the party. I influenced nothing of the events that became a subject of a dispute before the court. So it would be wrong to start diverting people from their own actions, their own choices. I think in the quietness of his time, Chamisa knows what happened. knows what happened could have been avoided. And everything that happened was within his control. And the failure to exercise control cannot be blamed on others. Let's take responsibility and push the people we look up to be the leaders in taking responsibility. And that's all I can say to you. I'm not here to demonize Chamisa. It's not my place. It's not my purpose. It would be taking me for granted, taking me to be foolish. And I don't think I am. So we don't have competent lawyers. People are failing to interpret the law surrounding this MD saga. Yes, there are many lawyers who have degrees but are illiterate where it comes to common sense, where it comes to logic and reason. That is all we are saying here. We are no lawyers here. We are just trying to give our common sense and give justice to what you are asking. From the judgment itself, it nullifies everything that happened prior to the death of Changirai. Somo has the right to be backed up pure. The judgment never said that. Look at the judgment. It says the decisions and actions. It says the appointment was wrong. It says the extraordinary Congress that was supposed to be held in terms of the MDC Constitution must be held. And the president has the power to convene that meeting. He is the head of the party. And when he dies, an acting president will transition to a Congress. Understand the power structure in the Constitution. Let us not rewrite constitutions. It's not our place. I'm not here to write a constitution, to rewrite it, to pontificate, to talk about things that are not in black and white. Look at the Constitution. Look at the address of power. Then let's talk about constitutionalism. From the judgment itself, it nullifies everything that happened prior to the death of Changirai. So more is the right, no? So what? Good evening. Good evening, Kudakwashe and Mr. Agrippa. In your hearts of hearts, you know Monzora is playing games and can never have the support of our people. That's not what I'm disputing here. I have no interest whether he's got support or not. That's for him. Let the die fall where it falls. Let me not be the reason why a person must not lose an election. But thank God, I'll be there to defend the right of the common man to decide as to who should be their president in terms of their constitution. I'm surprised that lawyers, eminent people, will miss this opportunity. That this is an opportunity to rectify and to restore.
But that's not the aim for most of these people. They know what's wrong. Me and you are not lawyers and we see what's wrong. It doesn't take a rocket scientist.
No, but you are now imposing your own understanding, Ramafa. Assume that we all don't know what we don't know. Let us start from there. Why always attack panelists on a serious note? He manipulated everything using Vanguard. The woman Coupe was abused. Please, I say, Signoro, allow us, we started with Mafa on an informal conversation. And we just say, let's keep on going. We didn't want it to be a complicated story. I've just extended this conversation to allow the questions that are written so that we have a democratic space of writing. We are not a panel We are not experts on what we are talking about. So what I say, please vomit it, throw it away. But what you want, please take it in, digest it, and decide what you take to the sewage. Chamisa was power hungry. It's not for me to say that. We don't even need court. Yes, I don't think so. No, Mr. Mawere, sorry, my comments are not direct to you, but Monzoras and Komich. Why, Ru? Should you direct comments to people who have not been in the bedroom where rape took place? There is somebody who decided, without the consent of somebody, to do something. It is those facts that we must deal with. Whether a person was watching while other people were engaging in the act that was not authorized by the parties involved in it, that's not for me to decide to target somebody. Where does Commission Monzora come in? You must be the last person to defend Monzora and Komich. How many other people would have walked away, taken a parachute, and say, let the house burn? It's not my house. Changirai left the mess. Let his spirits sort it out. Why can't we salute the few who stand up on their feet and who are misunderstood, who are ridiculed, who are vilified just for standing for something when we can't even stand for anything? Chamisa is wasting people's time. He's seeking public attention. He's doing nothing, only leading people to do. He has not spoken, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But if he was somebody and he had asked me for advice.
He has. I'm aware of it. Has put a few tweets indicating that they are completely different organs. It's a different party. He has moved on. He's made those tweets as well.
Oh, okay. So I'm corrected here. I didn't know that Chamisa has spoken. If he has spoken,
right. You can open his Twitter. You can see what I mean.
Yeah, I don't follow many people, so sometimes there are many things that miss my attention. The way they try and paint Chamisa in a bad light, the more he gains ground. Yes, let him gain ground, but going way, Agrippa. Let it be firm ground, founded on principles that are generally agreed to by members who call themselves MDC. So I don't have anything to say, Agrippa. I said, let's have a conversation where Chamisa is not there. Let his actions, choices be part of our discussion. We all saw it. As a woman, I'm disappointed with this supposedly Democratic Party. Okay. The process of ratifying decisions is part of the Constitution. Yes, you can ratify what is ratifiable. Mnyaraz. Never ratify a decision that you are not empowered to make. There are decisions reserved for others. Let us not self-help. Who was acting president when Cooper left the party for 8 months beyond the period narrated by party constitution? Jenny, we have already traversed that. That is a matter that has been resolved, that Cooper was a member. She had reason to be in court. She was given an opportunity to vacate from the court process. She said she is an injured party. She has an interest in the outcome. And the court and the parties, the appellants granted her that relief. So it's not for me to disqualify her. If she was disqualified, the court would have been guided accordingly. Don't be lied to accept a narrative devoid of facts. Let's try to fix Zimbabwe, leave opposition. How do we fix it when we can't even take the next step? We can't even agree on what constitutionalism is. Yet, without the rule of law, without constitutionalism, Tencent, there is no Zimbabwe. It's called an animal kingdom. There are many animals that are not locked down. They are not in quarantine, but human beings are. Who becomes government must be your business, and you must take heed, take notice at the process to become president. Lest some of these people will become president tomorrow. So what is he still in Harvest House? I don't know. The politics of harvest, who is harvesting and who is not harvesting. Judas Iscariot committed suicide after he committed the greatest betrayal in history. Monzora and Komich are now empty inside. If you listen to Monzora, you can clearly see that he's empty. He could be empty, but that's not the objective. What is the objective of radio? This is just general. Okay, Senor, I am not radio. I am me. I'm just using my Facebook platform. It's not a radio show. I'm no DJ. I'm not here as a paid person to come here to bore you. I come here out of conviction, just to share my little wisdom after I look at what other people are sharing. And sometimes I'm lost.
Right.
So I'm not here to compete with journalists. I'm here to say, Signor, let's build a radio station so that we democratize it. So I'm just provoking people to step forward, step up to the plate.
Ignite.
And ignite and provoke. I'm just a provocateur. Tinashe, you can say that again. Men who are lawyers committed human rights abuses to Coupe. That's another perspective. Politics of self-interest won't last long. We both know that the day we buried MT, that was the end of MDC. MDC is a sinking ship. Mawere, you can spend the whole night discussing about the issue of constitutionalism. MDC itself, they don't respect your constitutional rules. Wakakwana ere iwe. Kwana. Somebody say so. If it's directed at me,
Right.
Fine. Nakakwana. I don't disturb you kwana kwako tapiwa. True, Mr. Mawere is playing his part as a good citizen, but this subject is just too complex. Yes, let's break down complexities. Let's provoke people to come on air, to host shows, to talk about constitutionalism, not to wait for Mawere to be the reason why they want to talk. No, I am not sent. I'm not God's project. I was sent so that I have 24 hours in a day. I have the same rights that you have to just convert social media platforms into a conversation. All I had a conversation with Mr. Mafa so that we don't repeat over and over the same thing that we touched for, so that we go to the next step. What kind of Zimbabwe do we want? A Zimbabwe informed by constitutionalism? A Zimbabwe informed by the rule of law? A Zimbabwe with big men we look up to, we idolize, we are mesmerized, bamboozled by their character, by their personality, so that tomorrow Zimbabwe becomes a fiefdom for these personalities who believe they alone were ordained, were anointed by God to be somebody, that the rest of the people
Right.
are nobody, that Masharira is an agent of Komich. Masharira is an agent of Monzora. Why would we seek to diminish someone's humanity to make a point? This case was litigated all the way to the Supreme Court. So let's celebrate that. Right. So am I, Mawel? I'm provoked big time. Unless you're asking me, you never understand. I don't have to understand anybody, Signoro. I'm not here to retell myself to understand anyone. That's why I'm broadcasting, so that Agrippa can call me a friend, so that you can call me a friend, so that Divine can call me a friend, without anyone wanting me to know what they think. Because what I think about you should never count for anything. There are people out there who don't have data, who don't have anything to live for. They are the people who decide the future of Zimbabwe. So when I broadcast...
Are you sure? Are you sure that they have an opportunity to decide the future of Zimbabwe, or they are made to believe that?
No, I'm saying is where you have knowledge, and knowledge is shared, it has the power to change even Mafa. So there is no human being who cannot learn. No, that's wrong. I think MT San can handle the post of president of MDC, and this young man called Chamisa. He talked too much, and all his speech are honest with full of lies. So I know you like to say, I don't have to understand you. Yes, Signor. And I don't have to understand you. Let's understand the issues. If you have something to contribute, please share it, write it, because there are many people who don't listen as a matter of practice. So they may be able to see what you share. My voice is boring. I don't want people to follow me. Mr. Mawere, we are not enemies. We support what we support. We try and defend it. But we look up to you as a noble man. Thanks, Agrippa. That's all. Don't even look up to me. You can call me names, Agrippa. I won't be upset. But I'll never come and ask for you to vote for me to represent you. And I'm enjoying, Signor. If you are enjoying, share it. Take this link, spread it like a seed. Let it germinate so that the things that Mafa says to my ears can find expression in many people. So that when they listen to this audio, they will hear my voice and they will transcribe it into a book and say conversation.
And all you cry is democracy, for people to embrace their liberty. And if they don't have it, fight for it. At least to know that they deserve to have it.
No, in fact, you are even, liberty can never be taken away, Ramafa. So I don't have to fight for something I have.
Well, but somebody takes it away.
No, that's a negative. That must be a contract. So you can't take my liberty for expressing it. Right. Here we're not fighting anybody. We shouldn't be fighting anybody. We're talking about principles. Who is hurt by principles? Nobody. But the moment we venture into saying Chamisa this, Mnangagwa this, then we're missing the point of constitutionalism. Let those who know they're speeding know that they can get a ticket. But when they get it, it doesn't stop me from speeding. Because I'm human after all. So I think this conversation has nothing to do with anything. Any Zimbabwean can ask for my vote as long as they have a vision. But I understand and believe we don't want to keep going on about individual. Let's stick to the Constitution project. Thank you, Agrippa. That's all. Let's look at limitations, prohibitions. Do we have a government of people who understand these prohibitions? We write a constitution. No sooner than we have written it, we don't even know what it says. We can't even interpret it because we don't have elders or young people who have read the Constitution, not without. How many lawyers go to hand without? They know what game they want to kill. So let's approach constitutionalism without a fork or sword. Let the sword be against the actions of others. Okay, for Zimbabwe to be all right in terms of economy, we must just stop talking about constitutional rights and all these kinds of political ideologies. We have to focus on economy and work with the leadership of AD. I don't know, Gudakwashe. Without the rule of law, there is no economy. That's why in the animal kingdom, there's no refrigerator. There's no car. There's nothing there. You can't preserve wealth where you are not safe. You can't die if you know after death what is in the Constitution can be betrayed. Imagine MT was alive. Would we have Honzora, Komich, Chamisa, Kupe fighting each other? Why should death divide instead of unite? You are right, Mr. Mawele. Let's have an open discussion. It takes a village to raise a child. That's the spirit and principle of constitutionalism. Let us go beyond discussion and define how to organize, not agonize. How to not to talk, but do something. We started a conversation, a journey on constitutionalism. You discover that there is no wealth, Ramafa, where there is no rule of law.
Even the Bible says follow the law.
That's right. There are commandments. Is the Constitution versus the will of the people. So by the power of the people, Chamisa is prayed. That kind of thing, Carissa, please hold on to your views. You have the chance of voting, and if you voted, voted. But please, let's discuss principles to build bridges based on principles, not based on a person. There are people Chamisa doesn't want to talk to. What will happen when he becomes president? There are people who feel disgusted, flabbergasted, pissed off. They are also Zimbabwe.
Right.
They are also members of MDC. Let us not descend to that level. Let us not get there. The brother, true brother, is right there. Kudakwasha unopenga. They are power-hungry thugs. That's why they part ways. They may not be power-hungry thugs. Let us not point the finger at people who are trying to do the best they can to change the face of Zimbabwe to what we all want to see. Let us not have an eye for an eye so that we end up both blind. Let us be the pathfinders for a common space where Monzora, Komich, Mafa, Chamisa, they all can get into that address. This is politics, not Bible. I don't know whether it's referring to me, but if it's me, I don't know what politics is. But politics is about people. There's no politics in the animal kingdom. There will never be politics in the animal kingdom. Politics is about human beings. It deals with the affairs of human beings. Politics has no interest in the animal kingdom. There may be politics there, but it's for another day. We are human beings. Why do we need to surrender to this animalistic nature? So, mutungamiri chaiye ndoupi? Hakuna mutungamiri who is not shepherd mfandaedza. Ifa waedza mfandaedza. Shepherd, you are the leader of your own life. You are the author of your own choices. You are sovereign, not somebody to lead you where they've never been. How can you be led by another man of flesh? How dare you surrender your humanity, your liberty, your life, your pursuit of happiness, just the right to pursue happiness, to somebody else? Why would you want to be led shepherd when you typed something? Yourself, not somebody else. And you ask, who shall lead? They
don't know anything else. They never seen anything else. Teach them different.
No, let's not talk of they. This is the shepherd. You know what his last name is?
Oh, okay, I couldn't see. All right.
His last name is Mufandaedza.
Okay.
Hans Mufataedza. So,
anyone, you rather, I don't understand even people in England, in South Africa, in areas where there is real democracy. They are actually advocating unconstitutionalism. I don't know, especially people in England. They left Zimbabwe, like you always say, I left Zimbabwe and I'm in America and I still ex-Zimbabwe. What's the difference?
Yeah, you are one example of someone who traveled so far but never lost touch with the roots. And your anger, your passion shows. Why would you go that far?
Because I left without permission. I didn't want to leave.
No, I'm just saying is you are where you are. Let's celebrate where you are. Let's not condemn the choice you made in life. Mutungamiri chaiye is good constitution. Mutungamiri chaiye Agrippa is us, not constitution. No constitution will protect you from these megalomaniacs, from these big men. No. We have to shame and name them. We have to be the custodians of this promise of constitutionalism. Let us not stop being vigilant. Whoever it is, they must know that this is not about Chamisa. This is about principles. Rashmo, Mufanato, Mawere, Makadini Zheyu Tiripo. So I hope, unless Rama family find our ways to make, this is what it is.
As we walk this journey to try and figure the direction of our country, why we are last in the alphabet is because we have the letter C. But in terms of performance, why we are last, I don't understand. We are the most educated people, as we claim. We were the bread basket. We've seen our fortunes decline over and over a period of over 40 years. We have people who feel they are not going to make any decisions to decide which direction their life must go because they have had decisions made for them all the time, or they're not willing, or they don't know any better. And I'm happy with what you are doing, Mr. Mawere, to make people engaged, ignite them, and teach them constitutionalism. And I'm learning too, and I'm very passionate. Obviously, I would like to see our country get better. I want to come back home one day. I don't want to come home to a despot government running the country. I don't want to come to see MDC taking us to a dictatorship. I wanna have liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is what I want to see Zimbabwe have, that opportunity that they never had. And I wish we would engage a lot more people so they can have this enlightenment that you are giving about it. And we appreciate you so much.
So I think that is Mr. Mafa on his own perspective. So let us continue to deal with this issue so that tomorrow what we learn, we practice. What we don't learn, we don't practice. So we are the reason why change is waiting for. So we have to be the reason that constitutionalism exists. So if we are not the reason, then constitutionalism will never visit us. So let us be the change that we want to see. It doesn't take much, but it behooves on all of us to be the custodians of the change that we are missing. So we need, it's healthy to have conflicts of ideas. However, we can't have radio stations or broadcasters. We need to work together towards common goal. Let's not focus on broadcast. Let's build something together. That's democracy, but let people choose what they want. I wonder whether you're not a fool because your reasoning capacity doesn't seem to be far away from your description. And that's healthy to have conflicts. Wamawere inyaya ye-constitutionalism inotonetsa. Even iyo chamisa chaiye haatozivi nezvayo. He preaches it more, but delivers nothing. He can't deliver anything. We have to deliver ourselves. I remember very well from the very beginning, this is our radio station. We are one Simunye. Let us look at what we have done to convert ideas. Let us look at what Mr. Mafa said yesterday. I'm willing to finance a constitutional challenge against President Mnangagwa. And I'm not going to shy away from that. Not because I hate president, no. But I love the president. And I love the president because the person I love, I must be able to criticize.
Right. I guess I love Chamisa. I love Mnangagwa.
Yeah. No, I'm saying is that I don't have to hate somebody.
Right, I understand what
Yeah, I don't have to hate somebody. But guys, if something was wrong, let us celebrate the wrong so that we never repeat them again. Let us celebrate death so that we also can die. But let's celebrate the things that we have done, the choices we have made. Like Signor says, it's our radio station. No, If you have not put money into a radio station, it's not your radio station. Let us invest in the platforms that we want to use to project our voices. Let us multiply the voices of reason so that ignorance can find no space in our minds. Let us reduce the frontiers of illiteracy about power and how it must be communicated. Let us be the icons of change, because in our minds there is change. Let us build a community of shared values in our minds, so that as generals, we plan battles before we fight them. We plan shows before we have them. We do things before we do them, so that tomorrow is brighter because of the choices we make today. We are sovereign. We are self-interested. We are random. We are irrational. We are nepotistic. We are subjective. That's what makes us human. Sometimes we don't use common sense, even if we have the sense. But that sense is not common. Sometimes we are illogical, even when we know what logic is. Sometimes we are unreasonable, even though we know what reason is. So allow us to be human beings, to harvest where we have not sown, but let us be the seed of a Zimbabwe that will speak to our choices and actions. Let us not be a Zimbabwe of victims. It's just a tense debate, Mkoma. No feelings. No, Agrippa. The moment you stop insulting me, then that will be your last day of life. Insult me, because if it makes you happy, do so. But keep safe distance. And I know Corona has helped us. Those who wanted to box, they cannot box. They can just use this platform, and we don't touch each other. We don't need a mask. We don't need PPEs. But we need each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mawere.
Yeah, Len.